Well, how's that for a back-to-back, eh? It's raining, it's hailing, there's thunder and lightning ka-chow out there, and the Vancouver Canucks just dropped what was maybe one of the more frustrating games they've had this season. Not particularly because they played too poorly, but because of the opportunities that they did have, and that they did not capitalize on in the slightest. The Vancouver Canucks have just lost 5-2 to the Nashville Predators at home on the second night of a back-to-back after beating the Chicago Blackhawks and Connor Bedard yesterday in a pretty convincing fashion. Vancouver took to it for the second night in a row and found themselves at the tail end of this 5-2 defeat. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't watch 100% of the game. It was kind of tuning in and out for me because for some reason the internet over here wasn't working. Maybe it has to do with the storm. But I did see a lot of the important stuff here for Vancouver as they played off against the Preds. Holistic comment to open things up, I'll say that Vancouver could have capitalized more. They could have defended a little bit better. This was just a game where you feel like maybe the back-to-back really started to catch up to them. How a lot of these guys were maybe not taking their shots correctly, maybe not covering their lanes or passing lanes correctly. And as a result, you did have some players getting benched throughout this game, like one JT Miller towards the end there. There was a period with a few minutes left in the third period. He only had 2 shifts, and one of them was a power play shift. He was not utilized for most of this game in the third period, and a lot of Canucks fans would go out there and say that JT Miller had a very bad game. And I think a lot of consensus commentary alludes to the Brock Boeser injury being somewhat of the turning point for JT Miller's ineffectiveness. And I say, ineffectiveness. He's still going out there and scoring points. Don't get me wrong. I mean, even in the game against Chicago, Miller had himself a goal and an assist. Even in the prior few games, he's been getting points. It's just the JT Miller that we saw last year where he was getting 100 points, he was dominating every shift, he was the most consistent Vancouver Canucks forward by far, more than Pettersson, more than Boeser, more than everybody else. He was so good, he played at such a high magnitude throughout the entire season. This year, though, whether it's injuries or a lack of Brock Boeser to be feeding off of, JT has definitely stepped down in terms of his quality of play. And when he's defending on the penalty kill, wow, is it very obvious that if he wasn't so good at faceoffs, he would be nowhere near the penalty kill. Now, I say that knowing that in the past, Elias Pettersson and JT Miller were 2 of the best players in the league when it came to shorthanded offense by stealing pucks and coming in on rushes and getting cross creases and getting snipes. They scored a lot of shorthanded goals in the past. But right now, we're not seeing any of that here. And JT, quite frankly, looks like a shell of his former self because he's getting tired and he's not really taking up lanes. He's just kind of standing around in the penalty kill, gassing himself out, pointing to other players, hey, go check, the puck is there, but not really doing much himself to block those passing lanes. He has been very ineffective, and I think it's been about time for him to maybe get a little bit of a message sent by sitting him for the remainder of the third period. Either that or he's hurt. Who really knows? Maybe he did get hurt and we just didn't know. But seriously, this might have been one of the worst games that JT Miller has played as a member of the Vancouver Canucks. Other guys, though, that did show off pretty well, we gotta give our props to our Swedes. Erik Brannstrom went out there with another showing of a pretty good shot towards the goal that resulted in a goal. Not his own goal, it ended up being tipped by Aatu Räty, but other than that, Brannstrom was great. Elias Pettersson had some very strong moments, especially on that power play. And I also wanted to give a shout out to one Kiefer Sherwood, whom we'll talk about a little bit as this video goes on. First goal of the game, though, to make it 1-0 for Nashville. Yeah, that's right, Nashville scored the first goal. Whoop-de-doo, Vancouver succumbing to first goal once again. The 10th time in their past 11 games they've done that. Zachary Leroux ends up finding himself on the back door after a deflected puck comes over to him. It's a wide open net. He's able to shoot. He's able to score. That's his first NHL goal, so good on him for the former Halifax Moosehead forward. The Vancouver Canucks, though, respond just a few minutes later with a long shot from Erik Brannstrom. We initially thought that maybe it was his goal because the NHL ruled it as Brannstrom's goal, but upon video inspection and upon listening to John Shorthouse's commentary, it was very obvious that the puck was tipped in. Really nice tip there by Aatu Räty in front to get it by the legs and through the 5-hole, I'm pretty sure it was, of Juuse Saros. So 1-0 Vancouver is the score in the first period. The game continues on into the second when the Vancouver Canucks on the power play ended up scoring what was a classic Elias Pettersson one-timer. What a beautiful play. Pettersson received a pass from Connor Garland with a really nice lane open towards the goal, and instead of shooting it, Pettersson notices, hey, there are guys there. There are 2-3 predators that are blocking this shooting lane, trying to clog up my shot, so I'm just going to pass it to Quinn instead. He waits, and then he passes it instead of shooting. He goes over to Quinn. Quinn one-touch passes it back over to Petey, and then he one-times it right by Saros. It's a great play. That's an NHL 25 style goal. You pass it to the side, one-touch pass back, and an immediate one-timer goes in. Elias Pettersson grips it and rips its speed, power, agility. I'm a big fan of these things, and he finally gets his first Petey one-timer in, what? Goodness knows how many months it's been since Pettersson has scored a classic one-timer like that. 2-1 is the Vancouver Canucks score, and then the Predators come alive. Because, Steven Stamkos scores 2 power play goals. Roman Josi gets a cross-crease feed from Brady Shea, and he hammers it home. Stamkos scored 2 power play goals pretty much from the same spot, too. He's on the left side, he just walks right in and goes far glove, up high on Kevin Lankinen. And you can say that there was a lot of error here by the Vancouver Canucks. Oh, Tyler Myers wasn't really challenging. He wasn't giving Stamkos a hard time getting in front of the shot. You can talk about JT Miller as well on the other power play goal that was scored by Nashville, not really blocking that passing lane. Him and Petey let Marchessault throw it right across to Steven Stamkos, who beats Lankinen. And then the Roman Josi goal, another defensive breakdown. It's like 3 goals for Nashville in the span of 7 minutes to go from down 2-1 to up 4-2. And that's the score by the end of the second period. A lot of Canucks fans are upset at the game on Twitter, social media. Everybody's talking about how this team just is not defending well. And then in the third period, we had ourselves Kiefer Sherwood, who scored himself a goal. He kind of needed it. I'm not just saying that because of my fantasy team. I lost my fantasy matchup this week, but more on that later. Kiefer Sherwood scored a goal, and it was a really nice shot from far out as he entered the zone. Heinen threw it over to Sherwood. He just gripped it and ripped it and fired it by. Long-range shot on Saros. This was like the 3rd or 4th high-danger chance that Sherwood got. Heck, you could even say this shot, that the goal that he scored, wasn't even a high-danger chance. It was from so far out. But Sherwood had a breakaway earlier in this game where he completely flubbed on the puck, and it resulted in that Roman Josi cross crease just seconds later. He also had another few really great opportunities in tight. Sherwood had buzz around his game in front of the net and with that puck on his stick, but he just could not for the life of him get any significant puck on goal until that goal that he scored. And that wasn't even really a high danger chance. It was just a long shot that fooled Saros. Canucks make it 4-3, so they're down by 1 with 6 minutes to go in the third period. But the Canucks have a very bad time setting up and finding themselves more opportunities to tie it. Gustav Nyquist from his own zone ends up throwing a long-range Hail Mary into the empty net to make it 5-3. Vancouver did not play a good game in this one. You can say it's because they were on a back-to-back. You can say that it's because they weren't capitalizing on some of their prime opportunities. But now, oh my goodness, I'm looking at this stat here. The Vancouver Canucks have the 2nd highest goals against per game at home this season. They're averaging 4 goals against per game at home. That's ridiculous. Talk about Canucks fans not getting their money's worth here. At the end of the day, though, it's 1 out of 82. Kevin Lankinen's not able to get that revenge game against his former team. Kiefer Sherwood, at the very least, scores a goal. Zachary Leroux, maybe like Kiefer Sherwood light over there in Nashville, or at least that's kind of what I think about when I think about Leroux in his game. He gets his first NHL goal, so it's maybe like the passing of the torch from one physical, smaller agitator in Nashville to another, right? And it's kind of symbolic that both of these guys were able to score goals in this game. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Canucks and the Predators. Vancouver loses 5-3, and JT Miller gets benched. That's crazy. Thoughts in the comment section as to how that all happened. Do you think it was worth it? Do you think it was warranted? Do you think this sends the message that the Canucks want to send? Comment section is your floor. I hope you enjoyed this video. 9 and bye.